Have your attention, we'll call the personnel committee for Washington County Board of Supervisors. Order. And I'd like to start with the first thing, which is mentioned, and I would like to say thank you to Supervisor Shaw, Supervisor Dave, for being those members on the personnel committee. And then thank them for having served on it the past year. And then welcome Supervisor O'Brien and Supervisor Paul, who's not here today, to the committee. I look forward to working with you two gentlemen and Vice Chair Billy Chief on the committee today. From here. So we got on the agenda over here. It's a red one. And the call order, I need a motion to accept it as different items. So I'm going to move by Jim, second by Dave and Darrell. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Stephanie.
So I have straight cut house, aging, and aging services a part-time vacate on December 20th due to resignation. Buildings and grounds at a building maintenance helper, on December 19th due to retirement. County clerk and the clerk vacate on 12/26 due to termination. The jail actually had a quick manager vacate on January 1st due to retirement. And social services had 2 caseworkers vacate actually on the same day to resignation, and a social services examiner vacate on December 5th due to a promotion.
Correct. Anyone else? Chairman, do you have anything? Okay. Anyone? If not, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion. Over here, all in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Calling Finance Committee meeting to order, January 9th, 2025. And 7 minutes.
Oh, here's Mr. Campbell. About time. You're late.
Almost over.
Should I just stay over here?
Okay, we're in the middle of accepting the minutes. Okay.
You should have called for the cheaper.
Okay.
Aye.
Anybody not saying signal? So that will.
Well,
We'll stop here for a minute.
I had to walk from Route 4, so. Thank you. John, appreciate it. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so next is department reports, and we'll start with Real. And let's get on this.
I am here for Miranda today, so we just have a resolution for taxes for a state on land property in White Creek.
And, so, resolution A. So, wait, Dave, check my stand, is there any discussion on any of that? All fair side, aye, opposed, carried. Okay.
payments. We have to build this money. Have a nice day. As you can see, the sales tax. Give it, take it, give it again. Have no idea where it's going. Can't make any predictions. There's one more deposit. One more deposit they would like to 2024 fiscal year that comes in on January 16th, so. Once that comes in, I'll send this final report out, but just so that you can see where we landed. I don't have any reason to believe that we won't hit 30 million, which is not a terrible spot to be in. I can't predict where 2025 is going, but I'll take 30 million for 2024. Cash balances, show our cash positions. We're county-wide, we're just shy of the same time last year, but general fund wise, we're just under 5 million short of this time last year. There's a lot of things that contribute to that. We have tax receivables, we have an option, there's things that even some of the interfund transfers, and remember, we just paid our biggest retirement bill since I've been with the county on December 15th, so it's probably the lowest cash position we are for the year, so while it's lower than this time last year, it's still not in that position to be in. We're sitting at 16.7 million at our low spot. So while I wouldn't mind the position we were in last year, I don't mind where we are now. I gave you the revenue to actual report the tax. I'm not going to spend much time on that because it compares 31.24 to 12/31/23, but it's not apples to apples because 12/31/23 has all of the prior year stuff, which we keep the year open through March. So if you look at it, and it seems like we're drastically lagging behind this time last year because there's still 3 months of prior year activity that's not in the game. We won't, even with the sales tax up and the breakage in payroll, we won't finish as, my prediction is we won't finish as good as last year. But net of the interfund transfer, I still predict we'll have a small surplus, if not break even on the worst case. But when I present to you in May, remember, it will actually show a loss because we took from the 2023 surplus and transferred that to the capital plan in 24. So because that expense shows in 24, it'll make 24 look like there was a loss, even though a great deal of the loss is attributed to transferring the surplus from 23. So I'll make sure that when I report out, you get the numbers both ways. So you get the numbers that I actually have to report to the comptroller, and then also get the numbers net of that transfer, so you can see specific to 24 how we did, if that makes sense. So it doesn't make it worse.
So the 2 months going forward is the towns are being made whole, that's when you'll start taking in money. What do you think your low is on balance?
Balance or cash.
Well, cash, I guess.
So I don't think I'll drop below 50.
You don't think you're that low?
So because the towns will start sending these checks for we can afford. And so then it starts the climb again. And we'll get as high as 50 million. Remember, while that seems like a big number, that's the operating cash for the whole rest of the year. You're off familiar with that in the towns. You're full in January, and then it kind of completes out over the next 11 months.
So remind us what the 2 tax auction will be.
So what we'll have it on our books, and this is, something that's hard to explain every year because there's a comptroller book entry that we're required to make measurement of what he calls a per tax revenues. So if the first 2 months of the year collection, so they take a look at your ending receivables and taxes. And you have to defer those revenues into the following year. So what happens is on years that we don't have an auction, that receivable continues to grow and get bigger, which means that deferred revenue, which is a liability on our books, continues to get bigger. And then when you have an auction, like we finally have an auction this year, we're gonna be clearing out three plus years. We have some cleanup of the fourth year to do from people that came out of bankruptcy and things like that. So what we cleared 3 years of receivables off our books. So when we make that entry at the end of 25, it will look like this huge fund balance surplus that is nothing but a book entry. It's not. I don't want to say it's not real, but it's not cash. We're not.
But we're actually expecting 2 auctions, right? One of those also.
So if I can arrange that with the auctioneer, we narrowed the first one will be in May. We finally connected to get a timeline on getting the one done for the prior years. Right, so that auction will happen in May of this year. And if he's available late August, early September, there will be a second auction. Or worst case, that second auction is deferred to spring of 26. But that auction will be for, thankfully, just 1 year. After this May auction, we'll be back on the regular normal cycle.
In 1 month.
I'm sorry.
What do you think what's our new regular gonna be, what month? In May or what?
So I still like the fall. If I can coordinate with the auctioneer that September, October timeframe, seems to be better than the old June. June had a lot of hurdles for several reasons and participation and even coordinating things here within our own agency. And what's nice about September and October is the school that just came out. You can kind of line everything up with the new owners of the properties a little bit better that way too. And it seems like all has better participation.
I think we just have one auction in August, but we have, or in May, if I do. Yeah, I get one.
Sure.
Well, the reason be that.
I was trying, the one that's scheduling in May is the one that I wanted to have in October and couldn't.
They just put off so long.
So, I mean, if it's the desire of the board to wait and do one in the fall, it's just, that's fine. The only thing that I'll remind you is under the new tax law, we don't keep any of the surplus and we eat all of the deficit. So the longer we go without an auction, their tax bills continue to climb to a bigger number, and we're more likely to eat a loss. It gets the receivable off our book, but
We're always gonna eat a
the
lot.
longer the auction goes, the bigger the tax liability becomes. And the more likely we are, I'm sorry,
No, there's a whole nother group to come, yeah, right, it's a problem.
right, so we won't be to the finish line with the courts by May on this year.
Right.
No, and
But I'm not opposed to putting 4 years in August, not opposed to it.
because the cost is.
Well, there's a higher risk of us taking a loss for what that's worth. And again, that's not a reason not to do it. I just wanted you to be aware that the only potential other shoe is a potentially a bigger loss in
Yeah, Charles.
We see on this topic for a second.
Yeah, no, that's why I brought it up.
2 things. One is, did you ever do any type of analysis to see if within law, will we always cover our loss?
They will
Or
not
some
always.
properties that go for less than what the tax liability was.
So we're almost guaranteed now to take a loss every year.
That's what I thought.
Because we share the surplus and eat the loss. You're almost
Right.
guaranteed to take a loss every year.
So from now on, in budgeting purposes, we always use, put something in there
We gotta put it in negative.
Now it's gonna have to be negative. And secondly, it was several months ago, we discussed, I think it was 2 years ago, we set up a fund from some of the surplus every year
To fix
to
buildings,
address,
to fix up properties before the sale.
yeah, what do they call 1138?
That's a whole other conversation.
So,
Well, no, but, wait, no.
1138, we won't make it, right?
So 1138 are the ones you write off the rolls and just walk away from like.
Yeah.
I have it twice.
And that's what I'm talking about. We set up a fund to clean up some of those properties, and we get it back on the rolls.
That fund is specific to
Properties we're gonna sell.
properties that we're going to sell, and maybe. We've had some instances, Mr. Shaw, where the property would actually bring more money if we leveled the building and we on it and sold it vacantly. So that fund would be for things like that.
So none of the ones that have been 1138 over the years, we're not looking at them.
No,
So
because
we-
the concern was brownfield, right?
So real property and I look at those every year to see if any of them have had cleanups, has had a status change. A great example of one is up at the village of White Hall. It was Martell's property that's now a car dealership by the Stewards, right? So that was one that was 1138. We found out that it had been rated clean, got it back out of the roll. Sold it at auction, right? And there's a new business in there. I don't know how they're doing, but they're still there.
Do we have a record of all the properties in Washington County that are 1138?
Yes, they're all coded as 1138. Yeah.
Is that something that could be provided to the supervisor?
Oh, absolutely. We
I
can,
know maybe I'm the only one.
By
who
town,
is,
so
but
each,
we can have a
go there in the town, would be great.
we can have a conversation at next finance or even a government office if you'd like. And I can give you a list of the properties already 1138. And I can give you a list of the properties that we have marked as potential liabilities, but have not been 1138, which is actually the more important.
Yeah.
So the ones that are in the chute to take, that we haven't taken yet, is actually the more important conversation than the ones that we have already decided to walk away from. There are properties that, to your point, there's one specific property, and Mr. Fisher knows it's whatever. It's one that bugs me personally a little bit because I drive by it. There's a property in the village of whatever that has an operating business in the property that we 1138 because it's a known liability.
Yeah.
But again, I struggle with how appropriate it is that, businesses have been up and running in that place for years, tax free. I struggle with,
It helps the bottom line.
sometimes it might be worth putting a property like that back on the roll. And if it costs us 80,000 to clean it up, maybe it was the best 80,000 we ever spent because if I'm the business next door, I'm gonna be like, hey, dude, this is not.
Yeah, I know about that fund was set up.
So that fund is more for like, when we've got,
General
we just
cleanup,
recently
garbage.
had a property in Whitehall that just we had to bring dumpsters and bags of garbage and the train station over in Shushan, we had to go board that up and everything. So if there's things like that come up that, but again, if you have a property and we've had this, if you look at the property across from, it's the old Good Times on John Street in Living Fall, it's now a barbecue place. The house that burned across the street. It was actually better to demolish the house and sell the vacant land than to try to sell the property with a,
That's how it has to take ownership until the day before the sale.
that we don't.
How do you then demolish a building for the sale?
That's a good question.
So that would be harder now. That probably goes back to
Yeah.
the old days.
Before we
Yeah.
switched, yeah.
Right, so we used to take them in April and sell them in June. So there was a period of time, but it put us as the owner for a few months. That we don't want to own them any longer than we have. to.
But if
Oh, I know
we-
that. That's
but if
what
we
I'm
knew
saying,
if it's-
what you were describing.
Yeah, but if we knew of a situation, we could take that actual one property sooner than the others to clean it up. Or no?
Nothing.
We can't do that with
No, we go to court.
with all.
So then that fund that's set up, you can't use it anyways on anything.
All
So
the
we only take ownership for the auction.
We only earn interest.
Well, see, that's why I thought it
No,
was.
yeah, you-
You
you as a legislative body can issue a resolution authorizing the expenditure of that fund in a manner that you're talking about. You could use it. You asked what it was set up for. It was set up for cleanup. It doesn't preclude you from using it for like phase one. Say you have a site that's been 1138 and you want to go in and do a phase one to see, you know, what level of contamination you might be dealing with. That fund will be perfect. You go and do a phase one on a site.
Well, I brought this up a few back, and you said into the new year, look into it, but I'm just bringing it back.
Sure.
It's a good discussion.
I want to thank you for being so patient with the council and asking these questions, because there's not a big thing about
And I wish the timing was different because 2 years ago, we could have had a very different conversation.
So it's like a perfect storm.
Yeah.
And so everybody's trying to understand the perfect storm, because each property is somewhat different from another.
Right.
And so, it's going to auction. Two of those parcels are Washington County.
So we own 4. And there's 3 more in the issue.
And so, and my friend, I feel like it's a moving target. I feel like it changes all the time. And, so, yeah, looking at the Freedom Museum, the Shushan post office, I'm sure there will be people there waiting for that option to happen.
And that property is a very interesting property,
Yeah.
I think. Well, actually, all of those are. I mean, they all have different potentials and
I get nervous with, I know their economic committee talking about the property that sits way in the Hamlet. Okay, and because
that's the ones, the Vale Street properties.
and phase one would be. Potentially, that would be a really good thing for the county to do on those properties, because it could open it up to people that would be willing to buy.
So the interesting thing about the Vale Street properties is there's a lien on there because they were cleaned up. So we already know a cleanup has been done on those,
On the surface up, not
on
surface down.
removing what they knew about.
So they didn't do go around.
Okay. They discovered, what my understanding is they discovered barrels and barrels of like turpentines and things you use to stain and strip.
So that has come up a couple of times, is, you know, what is, unfortunately, there's a wrong photograph in the old historical, book of sale. It shows a huge standard oil tank.
Yeah.
Okay, visual, first of all.
Yeah.
There were some, tax on the water price. So it was a Tennessee location, it says over here.
Yeah.
These people that
But again, that fund could be used for phase one, should it be deemed appropriate. And
That would be one time. 20 people on problem.
no, phase one isn't bad.
Bad.
And at some point, I will, have a conversation with you. I do have a survey back. The property you guys had surveyed across from the bridge.
yes, okay.
So the old factory, I have the survey back on that. We can discuss that on later date. Yeah.
Any information on the contents of that place? Because we talked about it.
And I don't know where we landed. Dan and I began that conversation and, you know, he's one guy and I don't know how far he got into. What, yeah, so that will have to happen before the auction, obviously. But traditionally, you know, when I say traditionally, we're selling the properties that we took for potential foreclosure. And it's a buyer beware situation where whoever the buyer is, they have to find out what their duties are. We disclose very clearly, you are not buying the content, you are not buying any personal effects. We disclose all that in the auction rules up front. I know that sounds like a cop out, but that gets all pushed onto the buyer. But I think on those properties, especially the number property, we'd be remiss to not kind of do a little homework. Because of the lien that's on it and because of the things that we know. This might be the one time where normally we just take we don't know nothing about it. I don't know that that's appropriate on that property specifically.
There's potentially machinery in there with Vale Street.
Well, there's a lot of things on that property.
Potentially we put case one in favorably.
But again,
If
we have to find out what the process is, because that's a property we do actually own. We own the property. Okay. So discovering how you either dispose of or acquire the contents is a whole other, that's a county attorney thing that we'll have to circle back.
people are asking about contents.
I'm sure they are.
So,
At least it's named right, the link property always has a missing name. So it's. Good question.
So back on the auction. Is it better to have an auction with newer properties? So they had two, probably 800 properties, numbers right? Versus probably 40 years ago.
I don't know that the auction is driven by this quantity. I think the auction is driven by the quality.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters if you have 20 or 200, if the 200 are correct.
And the deadline always decides how many are actually gonna be in it, because
When
People will
people,
find a
when
way to
people
buy it.
go to the next auction, they're usually looking for specific things. Right, something they can flip, something they can rehab, vacant land they can build on, so buyers have specific things they're looking for. So it's usually the quality rather than the quantity that drives the,
We also, we have the same people buying several properties.
we have a lot of
thank
repeat
God.
customers.
Would they be more apt to spend more money at two auctions versus one?
I can't predict.
Well, it's possible because they may have flipped one right before the second one comes, so that's not.
Doesn't matter.
General's up.
In our conversation about 1138, you mentioned like, oh, we've got one. Is that one we just did recently? You explained that they mentioned about property and that's the one that, the car dealership across where it used to belong to Martel. Remember that old older thing, or remember the new one? Okay. That property just across from the bridge, where there's a used car dealership. That was an 1138 property that we put back on the roll successfully. We didn't clean it up, but we were able to get it back on the roll because it was cleaned up and. Yeah, well, we just cleaned up the property. Turned it down. Yeah. That hasn't got on my radar yet. There's probably current on the back. No, it's supposed to be. Attorney's supposed to get in touch with.
I've heard little bits and pieces about it, so you're right. It just hasn't got out yet.
And I don't see where they have. Acre tax, I wonder if that property goes up for sale. Yeah. At that point in time, when it's purchased in the town, is reimbursed for. Well, that's it, wait.
Especially with all the people involved before the sale.
What happened? We just moved up here.
What is that?
I didn't understand, I wasn't put to meet it. It's for a lien against the property. So you can lien against the property, you can foreclose your own lien, sell the property and try to recoup your. That would be the process that I would recommend the village take. The town. So the way that you recoup your money is you put a lien on it, you foreclose your lien. Get in line in front of them. The way you recoup your money is you take the property, you sell it.
I think part of that is because the county makes the town whole, is why that works that way, right?
So in order for you to take the surpluses, you have to share the losses, and I'm not sure you're willing to do that.
So,
Yeah.
Okay, good.
We use our funds, property to be. Reimbursed.
You could put a lien on the property. That you could either then foreclose the lien, or you'd be made whole with closing on a private sale.
Not as much.
We don't make anybody, we don't make the lien holders whole, once we put this on the lien holders lose their interest.
I understand that, but as a municipality, we rise above that rule.
Well, I know what you're saying. You're trying to say, can we recoup our money over and above? The problem is usually the cleanup costs way more than the property. You're just trying to make it get back on
The current property law doesn't allow for that. But the law is changing drastically over the past 18 months.
Property tax law applied.
how I dispose of property, it governs how I dispose of property.
The county looking at, the county's. But around to, it's, that are available right now, and the county, around the grant, and it was in budget.
I don't see why not. But again, you have to have site control, that's usually the big driving factor. So again, this board would have to have the intellectual authority to take a property and roll the dice. Now, we have examples of that working, on East Street, whatever, without the headwater stands. We took a risk and it paid out. You know, one of my favorite things since I've been a director is March 32. Mitch Supernaut, when he was supervisor, and I got together in a room. We come up with something that we thought would work, and I'm very proud of the fact that worked. I think those kinds of things are still possible. Now that, whatever took a big risk on that property, but again, it was that was a county town, hey, what can we do together type of conversation. But yeah, those opportunities still exist, absolutely. Site control is usually
So one
a
of
hinge.
the reasons we don't take properties is the fact that if we change the title, then the DEC tell us, you know, yeah, if we may not know how much it's gonna cost to clean up, it's thousands of dollars. So in millions, to clean it up, and we don't want to get that change of title before, because we lose our shirt.
We've had examples of, we've accidentally gotten change title and it's cost us money. Luckily, they haven't been drastic numbers. But they've been numbers.
But we really don't know until you own the property, you didn't figure out, just, yeah, the property did. There's what you're reading this property, we've always been nervous about, like, it used to be available, right? And that was,
I don't think-
that's the one that we always.
Now, the good thing with that one is there was 2 biotech properties and we had 1138 for years. Come to find out the one on the other side of the creek really didn't have any issues. We put that one back on the roll. And, so there are, that's why we review them every year to see, wait, is this still a thing?
Is it done, is it taken one looking, or you have on the back?
It's across the
County
street.
or
It always comes to, Al always brings the 1138 to the board, right? You don't do that on your own, you usually ask us.
Right, so my choice when it comes to tax enforcement, is I'm working with the board. I don't do it in
and I understand that. All I'm asking is it does not require a board resolution.
The 1138 is.
So that's
The 1138 requires a board resolution.
Yes.
always.
So we have to do it anyway. And now, the thing of it is I never, since I've been here 16 years, I've never remembered the board voting to remove 1138. I've never remembered that.
So the
Yeah.
Martell property in Whitehall was pulled back and show you that you put it to remove the 1138.
It's amazing that I don't remember.
That's the most recent one in my brain. We put back on.
Well, I'm not saying you didn't do it, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, I don't ever remember that resolution.
You were nice.
We take that property in,
Okay. Well, that was really a good discussion. We put a lot of information in there and hopefully spurs people's as to what we can and cannot do. And always feel free to ask, because Al certainly knows how it's done.
If you want me to work, if you could work the real property and bring something to cover on that this month. I'm sure Miranda would be more than happy to work with me and get something together.
Sounds good.
so we're down to budget amendments. County road fund.
Deb's not here, she's sick, so, we had a conversation, resolution B in the packet. Let's go over to that. So, bottom line is, he's got the money in the budget. And the reason is, I took a learning curve with that paint machine we purchased. And she wasn't able to execute all the painting that she budgeted for. Now we've got this, somewhat of a public safety emergency in terms of paying and striping the road on this county road. We've already had a couple phone calls. Dad would like to do it, but she's got to do it with a contractor. Because the paint machine, she's not able to execute it with her crew in that paint machine. So that's the amount of money in there, it's $27,000 left over from last year's painting, projects.
Well, you need to clarify that a little bit, so basically they have fund balance left over that went into their fund balance.
Yeah.
So it's, we're now in the new year, so the money that's in the fund balance will now come back out. Pay that, and it has to be epoxy paint, because we use latex and it's cold for latex to stick right now. So it's a public safety issue.
So to add to that,
Yes.
I had a request from Deb on Tuesday for an emergency purchase. Because she felt because of the condition of the road, not having lines on it, because they had trimmed it and they didn't have a chance to line it. It was more of a public safety issue where she was concerned about public safety and their welfare on that road. So that's why it became an emergency purchase. I alerted the appropriate people about that, so the work has begun. She's in the process of having that done, but yes, we need the funding to pay for it, which is a 46,000 from her fund balance. 3 miles, 3 point something miles.
And the conditions of paint is a kind of a new, has to be above the 20s. Road has to dry for this epoxy.
You've got less than a week.
Yeah.
Because he's going to.
I know so. And there's one machine and. I'm serious. It's got it. Really, I think it wets it, cleans it, and it blows it off. And it does something to heat it, and then puts it on the epoxy. And the scope is the last that we find there, money to.
Say, it's in 4 years.
It's a whole different process, ours is. Standard, pipe painting things.
You pick a nice summer day.
And this machine right now, you said in Syracuse, they're using it right now in Syracuse, which as you all know, they just had a huge amount of snow in that area, and they're able to pay those roads.
We bought the farm.
Yeah, it gets a bit more expensive.
Yeah. $2 million for that.
That's resolution.
I'll move it. Who moved it? Dave moved it, second by Dave. Any more discussion? All fair say aye.
Aye.
Gary. DSS 2024 budget. We can go with the resolution number wise, and we're gonna have that type of
For what?
for the DSS church wall.
Just so that I got the numbers moments ago.
Oh,
$600,000 in increased expenses. The county share of that is $349,740.
and what helps us is through year end.
We think that this,
This will cover all
my
of it.
understanding is that.
We may
that
actually
will-
be a little better off, we just don't know.
They don't believe we'll do worse, we can potentially do that.
That's.
Yes.
And again, if we don't use it, it stays in fund balance and it's a win, so.
What's the shortfall from?
Coming
in, or is it?
Well, state money will eventually come on any of it, but the shortfall is, yeah, I'll let the commissioner speak to it, but it's something popular. Well,
I almost wanted to hear this.
well, I don't know how politically correct it would have been, so I'm gonna let you.
It is the homeless and the foster care and training and special education placements of children that are outside of our area. That is driving the cost. The thing that I have been speaking to committees about all year long. Quite frankly, when we broke this down, the budget that we adopted 24. Obviously, in 23, when we looked at just the CSE placements, which is Committee on Special Education, done through the local school districts, they do everything they can for least restrictive, but when they can't find anything else to meet the educational needs for a child, they will send them to a residential facility. When that happens, schools need to pay for the educational component. And then the maintenance lodging of them is a share between the county and the school district. So we pay for that first, and then we get reimbursed from the school districts at 56%. But the cost at a minimum for some of these kids is $21,000 a month. And they're there at least 10 months a year. When we set up the budget in 23 for 24, we were paying for 3 kids. We anticipated that there would be more. When we prepare our budget, we typically call every school district and ask them, what do you think this coming year is looking like? And the budget, we increased our budget by 100,000, thinking that would get us there. The number I just told you, 21,000 at minimum per month, doesn't get us there, 100,000, and we're paying for 70.
I think it's, you brought it up one other time, your school in Hudson Falls having an issue with this, with the CSE stuff. It's all tied in, what you were referring to in that meeting. The special education. So I think.
Yeah, I don't think it was Hudson Falls. Yeah.
I thought it was Hudson Falls, no, the different school, wrong school, okay. So, yeah, and it's not gonna get better.
Yeah, so then, right now, CSE and foster care in the 24 budget are in the same appropriation lines. We did break them out for 25, so you can see the difference between what is foster care and what is CSE moving forward. However, so for the point, from the perspective of foster care, one example I'll give is we have one child that's part of a sibling group of 4 that came through a neglect case. That is easily the worst situation I have ever seen in my career, for how children were treated and how they time that we spent care. She could not be maintained. We couldn't find any place in New York State, no place in New York State. We worked with the state, to find someplace, and she's placed in Massachusetts. That is about $40,000 a month. That is 0 reimbursement.
That's how they pull this over the zero.
Yes.
That's kind of,
We did.
that's why I said it's probably gonna grow. It's,
Yeah, we discussed that particular situation, earlier this week when we met. My hope is that we learned because they were younger and they're getting the developmental services they need and they are improving, that we may be able to avoid that, and we do hope to bring that child back closer to home too.
and I
But
think,
it's all always, we don't know what we don't know. I would have never imagined these kids were out. And honestly, probation.
you said it more eloquently than I would have. Good
You know,
job. So that's where we're at. And any other questions on that? Yes, there's the resolution. Okay, yeah. Good thing we did.
I can't see.
Right.
I'm moving.
I'm second.
Everybody go. Everybody Sam, everybody Dana. Should I just sound?
I just wonder with the numbers that we're talking about here, is there some kind of facility that we can try to plan and put in place where we manage this stuff ourselves? I mean, we're talking 1 month is almost a salary of 1 staff member for a year. So, I mean, it seems like we can find a way that's more cost effective.
And it's funny you mentioned that because we had that discussion yesterday for a while.
I was prepared that he was gonna talk to me about housing, doing something for housing in our county, which I already thought would be huge lift and very complex, and instead he threw me a curveball that was about the CSE kids. And that is really, that's the schools that we need to consult at a minimum. They're the ones that may be able to give us insight as to if there was a magic wand, what would they do with these kids? But what I was saying, what I said to Brian is, they're not all, they don't all need the same service. And they're not all the same age. So that diversifies exponentially and for you to be able to figure out who's coming and be able to have that moving forward in primary education. It would be that.
In those situations, I think we can maybe look at contract teachers or full-time somewhere else and. You know, I'll cover. And. Just, you know, whatever services are needed.
Some of the placements that are available currently for our school districts to access would provide a 3-on-1 ratio right now in their school with that. So it isn't quite as straightforward because of whatever issues are for that unit.
And we're talking 7 or 8 kids at this point, so it's not even a big amount of kids, but when you put 3 to each kid, it changes everything.
But what I'm saying is that it
That didn't even work, right? So that's why, and when Tammy and I were talking about, Daryl actually mentioned something that's could be a bubble from COVID.
you credit yesterday in the conversations.
Yes.
It's not true, but I give you credit.
It's not true, but it's possible.
It could be a bubble that works its way
It could be a bubble that works its way through, we just don't know, and in certain groups, when they figure out this, when they do this to someone else, the bubble may never go away.
We don't advantage for anybody really, it's just, but I will be making that contact with a superintendent to ask. Is there an audience for this, and we have a conversation with your group?
Appreciate that.
And just out of curiosity, is there a stepping stone from Washington County foster care to the Friendly Residential Placement? Is there anything in between?
Yeah,
Do we have?
we know there is.
Hi. Like you to say it.
Yes, so there are also therapeutic foster homes that are still in a foster home level, there are group home levels, there are multiple different types of services with pushed in mental health services, lots of other supports that are available for. Again, across the continuum of orphanage children.
And are most of those places full?
Yes.
There's no place to do that.
New York State changed they changed the face of foster care. And at this point, that has put a lot of providers out of business. So what we have left is very scarce.
Thank you for,
And very risk averse.
thank you for.
So all in favor of the motion we have on the floor, resolution?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thanks, David. Another. Yes. Mr. Kennedy, that's where my other was, so very good. And it's all revenue.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
What he needs to operate.
So I'm gonna present it as 3 separate budget amendments and for the out, makes sense, like have 1 or 2, if that would be easier, I'll discuss them. But I'm looking for 3 budget amendments to recognize revenue. Essentially, we already have checks. I just need to recognize those checks, move them into an expense line where I spend the money and pay my bills. All 3 of them are in the genre of the projects that came to us, we didn't budget for, so when these projects come, any legal and engineering fees the sewer district incurs, goes back to the developer, and we let them know that up front. 2 of these were the CHPE project, which is the power line going from Canada down to New York City. They set up an escrow account with us, and the other one is the WWIDA for the Canal Side Energy project, which also set up an escrow with us. So we've spent the engineering and legal fees. We just need to tap the escrow check and bring it to escrow. The third is for Irving Tissue, their building expansion. That was actually a pretty large one. Cost us legal and engineering, and we received a check from them to reimburse for that. I just need to recognize the revenue, so I can pay for some stuff remaining in 2024.
And we'll have all those numbers today or so we can go out for next Friday's meeting, right?
Right. Sorry, I don't have the exact dollar amounts, but the CHP one is somewhere around 2,000 to 3,000. The IDA, I believe, is 6,000 to 7,000. And the Irving tissue, the large ones around 86,000. I give Al the exact dollar ones. So
Motion to move that to the full board. Okay, second by Sue, any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carry.
right here, that,
Ah. You can decide how that is when you get the numbers, how you want to.
I will do my very best to get through resolutions. I know you made a response from,
Okay.
worst case, I'll do my best.
Thanks, Kevin. Are there any others? Other? We have not got a definition yet, or totally defined. I don't really want to use your line, but it's great. To,
Do that makes things not exist.
I'm not sure we have the ability to do a moratorium on certain things, or a moratorium at all at the county level. So.
Not really understand at this point, but you have a problem with the mineral takings issue, which is a constitutional problem, so that's where you get into big issues. You know, if it's sort of company that's trying to put down that battery farm, they will probably see this and try to put down a moratorium on it. There might be better options to explore than trying to do a moratorium. Maybe negotiating contracts with them about trying to set up that property, depending on what the exact issue is. I haven't got that fully defined. I just, so some towns in the region have that. Batteries. We are probably in the process of, as Brian suggested, maybe we look at it at a county-wide level.
Yeah, because it's gonna involve every town.
Not just a tax or a cash issue where some of these are going in. We have no way to control them if there's ever a fire or spill without contaminating all the main waterways that come down through. Area.
Sam,
I got one that I first received the information on this past Monday or two was. And Monday night, we're gonna start the process for the referendum moratorium.
That's only 1 year. It's no way to move forward.
And then you can extend it.
so I'll give you a little synopsis. So also raised, we know they're all over the county, they're from every little town they can get to. And right now, they've started integrating, they they don't even call it batteries, it says electrical storage, which means battery. They-
Storage farm.
So in our contract, they actually presented something totally different than what they proposed when they subdivided. And I wouldn't sign it because I had the date back from when the subdivision was. I said, no, it's not legal, I'm not going there. So we're starting to hear now that everybody's trying to add these batteries, and they also have the belief that because it comes under solar, you can assess the battery. I don't know if that's true or not, but it seems like kind of a stretch for me, because if it's not worth more value, why are you putting the battery where you want it? So in Sam's case, I think they're talking about the battery and they're not even talking about solar. So it's getting a little out of hand now, and I reached out to Ag Markets trying to get them to review ours and hopefully review all of them and come to a significant section of what they're gonna do about this.
You know how many batteries are talking in Europe?
Well, mine they're saying is equal to about 8,000 car batteries, so that means Sam's equal to about 80,000. So I don't know, and I don't know if that's accurate. This is what I'm being told by people that supposed to be know.
In our case, it was equivalent between the Pocket Park and north of the inside, just outside the village in Battle. There is a storage site. But the fact is, it's right around. Before it made thoroughfare, we would have to get a fire.
How close is it to our highway? How close to our new highway bus?
stop. No, that's
Oh.
us.
We're safe.
Yeah, let's go with that part, yeah. Let's not hold that up any minute.
You wanna talk about wetlands, what wetlands there?
So these solar companies are on the lines are getting loaded up now. They can't dump all the solar on at once, so they have to have the battery stored.
Right.
So that they can release it back on when there's overflow going through, so that's why they're unincorporated. But as in your case, and part of Washington County has main overhead pipeline, big power lines, and there are contacting landowners to just put up huge, I mean, you know, size of half of this building, storage units to draw off of that during low draw and put back on hydro. And as a county, our fire departments and rescue squads, and they have no equipment, no experience, no way to handle fires. You know, you come and put 100,000 gallons on it, don't put it out, and where's all that water runs out, heavy metals? We're not doing the moratorium, we're gonna switch and go to a prohibit. So, and that's what some of the towns have done, in the area, so.
Now, Dan, for the township that is down.
On the batteries, not on the solar, or on batteries, that Amsterdam was past one, and, who's the other town down on the road? There's two of them, because our planning board has been looking into it, because we were trying to make a battery moratorium laws to go with our solar laws. And they were 29 pages into it, and still hadn't felt confident that they were protecting the town.
Okay, we got a moratorium on both. So we still that. Trying to bring it up.
Believe so. And that's interesting because Whitehall was pro. That's where it all started. It's very interesting to hear that now.
Does anybody know any state legislation on this, drainage or all, I can't, I think there's about everything, yeah, it's all, you know. This thing like that would be either enabling or prohibiting.
Well, the only
For
thing,
us to, manage it.
I don't know the total history, but I believe they stopped the one at the Anaconda Park. I can't think of which town it was in.
Yeah, but that'd be part of it.
Right, that was part of regulations, but what we have, so Hebron is split in half. The north half is in the Champlain water channel, the water all flows north. So anything north of Hebron is all going to the park. And all water flows that way. So it's some, in all our planning boards, if you're within, say 20 miles of the blue line, you have different regulations on your planning boards than the southern part of the county.
Well, that's absolutely true. I was wondering about enabling legislation on the state level that would allow municipalities to control.
Yeah, you're
Well, that would be not a hard fit, I don't think. I know, well, even got the girl on it.
I think, yeah, that'd be state.
I'm not with the sure that it's a lot of grants.
And Amsterdam has zoning is how they're able to do it. They did their zoning law.
Well, sorry, we can go back to a moratorium would be use spread on conservation.
At the
Could be a
county
challenge to it. I mean, I can't do it on county level, but what I've seen so far, I've seen town and village, but you enter the problem where you enter a constitutional taking potential issue on needing more programs on permanent or even a temporary. Potentially both, and the way you do it. The thing is that you have to have a plan to fix the problem. That's where I've seen people even lose extensions. So I've seen some case law, someone had like a 1-year moratorium, so I tried to extend it 1 year and then lost that extension as someone tried to file Article 78 to get rid of it, and they won successfully because the county, or excuse me, the town or village, I forgot which one it was dragging their feet and fixing the issue. Like there's like a 5-step process that you have to have in line in order to have a moratorium be successful. But then the thing is, that if you're failing this, you're entering a big problem with the constitutional takings issue. where the challenge is, and that's where your damages on the potential liability aspect. What I've seen so far, like I said, I only got this question a couple days ago, and I haven't had a full chance to like really flesh it out.
So
You know, in the planning department, you go to Commissioner Coleman Road. And
Yeah.
right. There's nothing at that road that was something of that.
That letter never mentioned fire at all. I read the letter.
That's exactly what it was just saying. Can we take a rule like the volunteer, rescue? Since there's an association that can come in and say, listen, we're not prepared, can't do this. We need further time to understand what the issues could be. I mean, that's a pretty solid group, actually, as a group. I think you would find it better than.
That's a public safety question. Really, we need to go through that group.
Just, I have a question for you, but first statement is, and looking at what solar is done across the state, and I don't, the owner wants to do it, that's fine, but basically it looks like DEC and Ag and Market Commissioners that had to stand down order from the 7th floor as protection. If you say, you know, if the town's dragging its feet and remediate, you know, on something like that, and then taking, they gotta come with proof that they can 100% protect that environment and protect the neighborhoods. How are they gonna do that? We're gonna bond them for 3-4 million for the cleanup of Hedges Lake, Dead Pond, and Lauderdale when it gets contaminated from the fire. Because the wetland right below one of our proposed ones drains into all three of those. I mean, it's within a half mile, all three of those. Could it ever be rehabbed? You know? So.
Well, and there's the
I
damage
mean, you
done
know,
to
the
water.
governor's willing to take that risk with our land, but I think as a town or county, we've got to stand up a little bit here and say, you know, there's a place for these and there's a place where they shouldn't be.
DEC brings a lot of stuff, in the cold storage. Containment. The bigger the facility, the more grandiose containment. Up the towns enacting similar sort of stuff for containment.
There is a state, but we've been working with it. There's a big state brochure out now that gives all the regs that try to protect that stuff.
And the owner is holding that that's gonna be done.
Yeah, but could, you know, the town of Argyle, without a only racing, one of the battery farm, they have to have it. Cement below the cross line and an 8-foot wall around any water, firefight or something like that. That wouldn't necessarily be a big.
You don't know how to look at it. Yes,
I mean, it's, I'm sure there's been actual challenges to the DEC rates for payment of rolling cold storage. And I would think the planning board would be able to put that information out on a second, they do aspect of it. That might show at least interim.
The problem is we don't have any idea of the toxicity of what would be in that situation. So when you see what PFOAs have done to water supplies, once that is in the wetland or your tributaries to other water, I don't know how you have any idea how bad that could be. And it, like, I think Jay said it best, once the second floor said, turn a blind eye towards it, and just let it happen.
We have more.
The other thing it requires is passion. That's where you don't mind, you don't pay, you want to do it, it's gonna be based on cash escrow. Most of the time, that defers all, they don't want to do that. That's how that feel. That's the IDA. Or it should be able to give IDA, and you'll give pilot benefits for any next firm. It does tend to just this way to particularly in life, that cash escrow, it just slows everything down. Many say, right, an escrow, it's gotta be cash. They know they're getting up, they don't go somewhere else.
Good point.
That is not a taking, I understand, correct? Requiring cash escrow.
I don't think so.
Because you get some big numbers, like, you think about solar cleanup, like I do know there's a community of municipalities, municipal organizations in the county right now that are storing solar panels. Imagine the idea of 80,000 car batteries. Who's gonna get rid of that?
And that's a whole different deal than toxicity of solar panel.
That's right, and so you're telling, so typically, I don't know how they're doing it, where you guys are, is it, they're approaching it, they're in the same room, piece of land from you?
No idea what you have.
This one, they're actually
Trying to chase.
Yeah, they actually own the property.
That's the price.
They actually own the property here.
LLC, here's the now making, it's all in the landlord stuff, these products staying on their land. We're just trying to pull these things off, but
It's all, it's disappeared.
disappear. This is why we want that cash escrow policy, these guys, and on top of that cash escrow, we do that 3-year check where you have to evaluate every 3 years at the cost, this is going on, they have to.
And give it a thought of our earlier, give it a thought of our earlier discussion with 1138 and all that. Owning it doesn't help either, because if they've made this many millions off so many years, why not just walk away? The county's not gonna take it.
That's why that cash escrow, regular review.
Yes,
Keep the money in the account for you, because now you're evaluating the cost to get rid of a battery for a period in term. And you can factor that in, they say no, permanent.
and you almost have to relook at that every so many years, because
Yeah, that's
what's the cost gonna be?
I said really.
Okay. I didn't know if you meant 3 years and done. No, you're saying every 3 years. Well, yeah, because those costs are gonna escalate. I gotta get back to Scott.
That's no, all that's going into our solar law, the decommissioning fund. Now we're looking at the batteries. What I was gonna say was I talked to 2 of these companies. And, you know, in the process, you know, we're gonna want some money for our fire department. It's for training and whatever equipment might be needed. Both companies said the same thing, let it burn. They do not care one bit about that equipment, the land, the community, they're gonna let it burn. So we don't do.
Well, yeah, cause you can't put it out
the things we're talking
anyway.
about right now, the whole consent that we can. They're gonna get away with work.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, you're meeting people that put on that, the battery storage facility has to be attached to a solar.
No.
Or you could just buy a piece of property anywhere.
the one in Fort Ann, they have a convention solar, yeah, right?
So it's a standalone business, battery storage business. Okay.
Sam?
And so my comment was gonna be, Scott brought up the fine point of the fire aspect of it. But that's not going to just affect my city for
No.
it's mutual aid, because we turn out when we have a fire, we turn out the number of individuals that are available to go to the fire.
When everybody's at risk in those situations, too. I don't know if it's worth going. You might wanna run the other way.
So that's a mutual aid situation, so it's going to affect that only our people being trained in the township, it's in those communities around it. So. Yeah. That's when we started studying it for our. And I guess you won't get in trouble with the moratorium, whatever, understand. If nobody has a fine. You're planning for it. If you're, for your,
Yeah, the moratorium is for the next one.
it's not really fine. And you want to work, but that moratorium is not guaranteed a law. That's why Monday night we're starting moratorium, but they haven't contacted us to file anything with us at the time. They will stop by part of it.
Yeah, I know you said it's only the towns and villages that can do it. But it seems like every town, including my own, is looking at this and are at various stages of knowledge about what you can do, what you can't do. It would be nice if somehow we could get together and have information given to us and so on, and come up with something
that is as airtight as possible that each of us can use.
I think what I hear here is all the supervisors look at the same thing. We couldn't county or step in and just put the box of all trouble. But we still have to do it legally and constitutionally, and that's. So we need to find out if there's any direction to do that, you know, it's just taking time to come up with that. Right now, I'm waiting to hear back from Ag Markets today, but if Jay's correct, and I think he is, like when there's solar law, anything over 20 megawatts, we have basically no say, right, in solar. So 80 megawatts, you might not be able to do a thing about the battery, it's coming.
There's supposed to be a deal process, but it's what's all taken about it.
Yeah,
Because it goes to the commissioner, who was the commissioner, and.
yeah, you wanna keep your job?
Exactly, covered.
Yeah.
So those would be the approved for, you know. That he based on thing.
Funds to cover anything above 20 megawatts still allows it to work reasonable. It's kind of as a reasonable zoning or plan. So again, that's why Cambridge, so we said, all right, restricting. Partial.
So you have zoning for commercial, do you have zone commercial?
Yeah.
But, so
There's old companies that now, that, I mean, equivalent and still, that they came in before that. The rest now have to be located in a commercial zone, they have to provide a cash escrow. And those are still not considered, in our opinion, they're not reasonable demand. Which are still subject to the approval that the state level, they have to take into consideration, reasons on that we need to work.
I think that you should create,
Yeah. That was the idea, because when we did our comprehensive plan, that was like the biggest feedback we got. Okay, so they just don't put it on our
problem is the unknown with the batteries. If the commercial zone might still ruin your ag land. That's, you don't know. That's the situation. And like where ours is located in Hebron. Okay, we're 4 miles out of Granville, but we're less than a mile from West Paul, Vermont, which has no say in it, because it's in Vermont. So, yeah, if you got a problem and, you know, how does that work out in the end? So.
And if we're building the kind of fire, the only way I can see you ever slowing out that fire is stand fighting, the building, waterproof it, the we're sealed. Water.
And I think it still burns. I think it still burns. It just burns out. Yeah.
Water.
So do we wanna talk with our people at public safety and see if they'll? I mean, that's kind of where civil land, it's kind of a great communication, like as Jim was saying. I think that might be our next option is to have them look into
I
it.
think that's a great idea, but I know from our perspective, we're gonna move ahead.
Oh, you gotta, because time's of the essence. No, you gotta move it, because like he said, you can't do it after they apply, because then you have nothing to do with it.
And we may find out there's an obstacle as to it.
Well, the obstacle is probably gonna be New York
That's
State.
one way to supersede it. Ahead, it's not-
No, you're
there's a
right.
Lack of any action.
No,
here, it's
you've
just
got,
Times of the essence, because they haven't approached process yet.
I wasn't asking that the county do it, for a county manager. I was saying is that county could help us.
the communication, so we all have
Each
the
of
same
towns would
information.
have the information, and maybe even a template for this is how you do it.
Yeah, here's your local law.
Yeah.
yeah, very good ideas coming around.
Yep.
Different spots. You're right. What if there's somebody else, state of where maybe they found out what they're taking. Extra the effort. Somewhere that we might bring it to. Does it or something.
Not a bad idea either.
Seems like we're so crazy to push water safety and water
all these little laws they want to put through on the water, why would we invent that group? Go back to the water. You know, this doesn't make any sense. And then the state doesn't have the vote. It's so aggravating because the state is so busy, but all their solar every day can, they were saying,
Yeah.
agriculture can't get that. They're so worried about powering the city that they're poisoning us. You need a lot of we come across and take out that.
There. Look, you know, say, oh, yes, there is. I'm not quite as pessimistic as. Really? So, Virginie, John, I met Virginie at the FEMA meeting. Mentioned it at the FEMA meeting down there. And it was all in our, I was saying. Which all. I think. What permits, or what is the, solar farm? To put on, in the flood zone, their house, and insurance. They have nothing to do with that. You know, the big extra plywood, correct, now, but they call it, what, was on the standards of the whole building. Officer. Gas station. I think his question was, there, they are. Standards. Well, you can see a lot of work in California right today too. No, they're not because they're. They can't plug it in.
I think we got two different things going on here. I think the battery part. One thing is- So. And what we really have to do is look at helping the city. And things different. They even look at our savings. Because from what I understand, like the Jackson batteries were they could naturally build a solar farm in Jackson and build a battery storage themselves. And be okay with it. They can put it anywhere they want, so it's a moving target. Fairly good concept, and none of us have the annual. It's certainly safety business.
We need to have a public safety escrow.
I have no idea.
They all need
I don't.
Over there. So that work. It's pretty, okay, it's fair.
Can it be the 1138 working group?
You know, might be a good.
Not opposed to. And work, I had the goal. And I have a paper. Property and it. Our goal was to develop. I don't know, legislation, ongoing things, stuff like that. And, you know, it's going on, here's your charge, and in 6 months done, I'm all for it. The problem with this one is it's every supervisor's town. There's no one immune in this. This really includes the whole board. So it's hard to say, well, you're on the working group, you're on that. Well, why isn't everybody on the work? Everybody needs to hear what's going on in this. Oh, yeah, but I think, you know, with a major cluster, separately, you get a whole bunch of pretty floating ideas like this, you don't encapsulate anything, but I think having a few people to win off.
I think the chair was right, because some of us have a sense of urgency at this point in time, and some data don't. But I say it's not gonna be here sooner than later. Yeah, you know, you can get a little today here, I guess, on your, you know, there, you want to put something up there.
We have this old law, storage.
Mine doesn't.
Typically, common, right?
I got myself.
Yeah, the fact that,
I think ours is identified.
the fact that they don't even mention them as batteries themselves is kind of telling. That's probably what it is. I think so. Yeah. Get her Asian plan too, that's.
Now, more people talking, are we talking about starting is that what we're discussing, starting a working group right now? I mean, we've got so many things up on the chalkboard. So I assume that's what we're talking about, starting.
Are you lobbying to be the head of this working group?
What I want is to have a working group appointed by the chairman. Is that as long as it can last is his term as chairman. So every time he's reelected, that working group goes away, you gotta reappoint him. We all know again who's on.
That's a great idea.
That's what I.
It's a great idea.
Well, I don't care. You can make whatever you want shorter, but we had a working group for that. What was that ARPA money that went on for years?
That means we're gonna come with something on one, month, really.
And so that's all I'm saying, get control of your working. And number two, more was accomplished today with a big crowd. And ideas that got floated around. than
That's right.
with 3 people.
I agree with that. Nate.
Good ideas, I'm not sure we.
And I'll move forward,
Exactly. So it was good thought. We've identified the problem. Yeah, yeah.
Nate Baker.
Right. I personally don't have any experience with solar companies, you and Jim, you guys, you have experience, Jay. I think if you take those with a predominant experience dealing with this, maybe get them together, formulate a plan forward instead of trying to put 17 people into it. You might get more done quicker. You know, with the problems they identified they're dealing with, you kind of give the rest of us that don't have any experience something to look at and understand what could happen.
And is there key people that aren't supervisors, like on our planning boards that actually have had more hands-on? Like, that's what I mean, it's probably, sometimes it's probably not the supervisor, even there might be somebody that's really involved and know more than we would, I don't know.
Cause I, that's a brilliant comment, because the reality is like the Kingsbury's sold a lot of Putnam, and we just reshaped it. Did I say that out loud? So we don't have any solar.
Can you copy me? I can see, yeah.
For example, you stay with the assets.
I believe so, yes.
That's what we're doing our students.
So we didn't say no to everything. He said it'll cost you. And that was what we wanted to do, was create that barrier to entry. So that they weren't gonna just come in there, drop some cash on the ground and walk away.
Vampires.
So the moral of the story is cash is still king. Cash is still king.
I said it's like a vampire singing Bruce, whenever you mention cash.
Okay.
One last comment, we all have great ideas, we all try to forward with something that's bulletproof, but as our lawyer well knows, this will end up going forward, the only way you can do it is if you got the money behind you to beat New York. Having unlimited is a good idea, you gotta have something like that that's got some financial resources, because the state's gonna back the other direction 100%.
Well, I would also think environmental groups might be good. What the problem is the environmentalists sometimes go towards money than towards saving the environment. And that part concerns me.
Yeah, they're also divided by the idea. They wanna-
Yes, which side are we on?
Yeah.
Right, it's not really about the environment, it's about what's paying for everything in the Green New Deal. Yeah, always.
Annual benefits.
I think I know who to call.
Just to throw this out, we're concerned whether it's legal if the county does it. But the county is the entity that probably could get it developed the fastest and most cohesive. And the smart play is we all say, yes, let the county do it. And then once the county adopts it, then the towns, let every town adopt it. Now we're covered both ways.
Well, the county doesn't have to adopt it, the county can just put it together in.
Well, whatever way you want to call it, but let the.
Because we may not be
county do it
allowed.
So that we're all on the same page. That's the point is, then you've eliminated the issue of legality. But we get the job done, we get it done way more efficiently than 17 towns trying to do it on their own. Now, myself and my town, we had have a moratorium on solar and battery storage. It ended January 7th. And our board meeting, January 7th, we went another 6 months on it, extended it. And next week, we're having a conference call with 4 attorneys on the battery storage. And our chairman of our planning board and 2 town board members, because we're struggling to come up with something in our town that'll work, because we don't have them. So, if the county did it, the county got all put together, and let the towns adopt it, our town would adopt it in our people. Because we're struggling with it. So I think it needs to start at the county level. And then.
What did, we had the discussion today.
That's what Jim and Nate,
That's what we're,
proposing. Jim and Nate proposed that.
yeah.
But let the town also adopt it. after-
Yeah,
after
and
the fact.
that would be the focus of the. So,
And that way it's all up to each individual town, right? So. Yes.
And you could even extend it into the solar farm regulations. Take one that's working and not every town.
Okay, let's hear from, let's have Tim tell his story one more time, so we make sure that we're not out of line with anything unconstitutional.
My current understanding is I don't believe in county, that it's town, village, city, whatever your denomination is at this point. Again, I need to sit with it longer, continue to review it, because I just, I've only had a certain amount of time to look at this, but I think it has to be a town and village. I don't think it can be a county thing, at least my current understanding. That may change given more time, but my understanding it had to be a town or village today.
But as a board of supervisors, we can discuss it and,
For the towns and villages.
yes.
Reasonable.
Whatever that might be.
Sure.
To what degree? Very good.
We got that.
Also, develop a consistent solar battery and represent the county. And then you can go back to the state. It doesn't really, defining our agricultural county community. Unfortunately, the things that could actually, be externalized. I mean, we don't know, we don't have any idea. The story is where the fire safety or anything to do. So 17 towns and we do not want this. And it's the full county. And you have to understand.
I would have a different approach. I would say, I would communicate a darn thing.
Yeah.
Leave Albany out of it. Every town adopt is solid of a
Yeah.
law as we can. And when the companies run into it and they plant their face up on the wall, they go, oh. Let them figure it out. And hey, we just gotta make sure we close every loophole we can. Keep all the seams as tight as possible so they can't run. Yeah,
If we're done on this, we'll say, another issue.
I wish some conversation had happened. That does give us a starting point. We can use some of this stuff that's already been put together. And to kickstart this.
So who's been instrumental in Hartford? Because it was before you come out as supervisor, they've been involved. So there must be someone very instrumental in the way they've looked at it.
So, but our staff,
No, but that was an attorney. I didn't know if there was someone in Hartford, an actual Hartford citizen that was involved.
Nobody did any. We do have a very flimsy solar law, but the town got nothing out of what we have right now.
Yeah, we put a moratorium in place, as I said earlier, we put a committee together to do that. People on farms, people, residents, and all that stuff, so we're still working on that. Unless we'll have to be.
Usually there's a guru though, like he said, there's no guy, you know, there's usually someone that's dug right in. We need the people who dug in for this one.
There are attorneys that have been working on this around the eastern part of the state. Our name where they've been, that have been involved in a lot of different towns. That way you can search them out. Yeah, I mean, they all cost money, but they've been dealing with breaking these solar laws and battery laws.
Next, what's the next topic?
The next topic will be the occupancy tax, short-term rentals. I just wanted to throw that out there, look, so we got updates, it's happening. I got it in the newspaper. There's actually occupancy tax out there, the way that it is set up now, for the state, it's the RPP and the rural, those people, we got like 55 over the 40, and about 40% of those are not even on those platforms. So we're missing out on actually tax at the county level.
Yeah, we need the registry that the state did not do.
Yeah, but I don't know how we go about that after that, and this question's for Al, I don't, I'm just kind of putting it out here, Alex, I know we had passed a resolution out on this thing is, she just approved, she being the government just approved, or signed off on the, this new occupancy thing. About a system that we put in. How would we go about collecting occupancy tax? Does that, probably, I know it's going to get a meeting on the webinar I hear in a couple days. We can ask those questions, but I don't know how that would transpose on tax bills.
And probably are good, I think Warren County's done their own in advance. So probably we can pick their brain is to see how they get it, because I think they include everybody no matter where you're at. And maybe you learn something right there next door.
Yeah, it's a matter of identifying those, because you don't have to register it. We had them beforehand, because we started a short-term rental thing. I know there's other places that have them within their townships, but they're not registered anywhere. Right. And unless somebody specifically puts them out there, they're probably not want to be.
And I'm guessing that Warren County has made theirs register, if that might, no, if I'm correct in that belief. But we're gonna have to find a way to register on it, because the enforcement will cost something at the start. But if you enforce it right and collectively at the beginning, the enforcement will kind of go away. They'll figure out they just have to comply.
Yeah, I just didn't know how to, we already put in place at the last resolution we did. I guess that will.
We may have to change that, yeah. We'll know more probably from this webinar.
We've taken a sit back and wait position, Sam, until we knew whether the governor was signing or not.
Yeah.
So now that she's signed after the webinar, I think we'll be able to have a better plan forward. There are software systems and stuff out there that can be utilized. There's some more popular than others, but there's.
That's another issue too, only because whatever county does, they can move for collect every county has their occupancy, but the towns can also. So it's better how that's.
More complicated, yeah. And I think that going forward, it looks like there's gonna be opportunities. But I almost think the state legislature gets another bite at the apple on this, whether they agree with what she signed or whether they put something back again. So you've got what she signed at the moment, but that's even something to change from the way I understood the article.
Wherever state within the next couple of supposed to be sending out their guys out.
So that's always good, yeah, and we're right to the point.
Biggest problem is to identify who is groups, identify who go after to register them. You know, I got one family that owns 5 or 6. Only reason you know about it is I know of them. Because their neighbors are complaining because they're group EVs. Because it's the source. So here's yeah. Well, that's good.
And I think that's what the director review.
Good job.
Don't comment.
The compliant police register. So, is paid, registration.
Yeah, I think it will guidance, the webinar, and we need to get on that, and maybe we'll need another.
Just something I want to put on your radar. Go to that.
No, you're absolutely right. Anything else to come before finance? Adjourn.
That's good.